The good citizens of Kendopolis are, well, they're good citizens. But I've made the effort to rid these streets of the silly scum that rolled through town every now and then. Did a pretty good job if I do say so myself. But now, I'm coming out of my 2-month-long retirement, and I'm here to confront the new threats that have made their way to our world. So, I'll listen to their concerns. Just listen. Or we could see how long I can last before punching somebody out. Yeah? Let's do it.
Hey, yo, kiddo, this video sucks. And can you make me and Scribblenauts?
Yeah, I can't do this. Well, alright. Looks like the job is more or less done. Oh, and by the way, most popular, most requested each week. Okay, got it. On with the show. Hello again, YouTube! This is Dr. Kendo with another Scribblenauts Unlimited Object Editor commentary. This is the series where I create the things that you request down in the comments section. That's at least on most weeks, where whatever is most popular, most requested is what gets created. But today is another Patreon Create episode, which means that somebody has donated and given to the final reward tier on my Patreon page. Links to that are always in the description and often put in an end card at the end of these videos. And that person, of course, is J.E. Sentry, who I am just so grateful to. In rough and fickle times on YouTube, it's support like this that can get me through to creating more episodes for you guys. So thank you to J.E., who has asked for another Batman-related creation today. Before the creating begins, however, you'll need to type in rubber glove here and then click to edit it in the object editor, which is only on the Wii U and PC versions of this game. Then when you're there editing it, just click on the little trash bag icon in the top right corner of the screen, and that will make the other rubber glove appear because it normally starts out with only the palm facing up rubber glove. This way now we can get the one for the other side, palm down. You can see in your game when you actually just type in rubber glove in Scribblenauts, you can only get the palm up rubber glove, so just be sure that you copy and mess with the palm down rubber glove after hitting that trash bag icon, because you basically just want it to be transferred over to your left side panel of recently used stamps. And so with that, now that we've got that done, we can move on to creating the object, which again, J.E. Sentry has requested. This is gonna be the Batman Dark Knight Returns Batman. We'll talk about the fun facts and what it is basically later on, but right here we've started off with a bodybuilder and removed the head and all of the limbs, the arms, the legs, and we're gonna add a Minotaur, and basically the Minotaur thigh piece, you know, upper leg parts, we can take those to be the thighs or upper legs for Batman here. And so we've got boot, that's a pretty simple one to be his boots, and that looks good. Of course, we're painting it blue because we're gonna first do this kind of blue outfit that he's got, the blue costume. Later on, he switches, of course, to like a blackish gray, and so we will include that one as well. Tim Borelli, he's got these crazy wavy looking arms. He's a 5th Cell member. We took his front arm right now, and then we're gonna take that rubber glove actually that we can use from our left side panel of recently used stamps. So just find it there on the left side. When you click the stamp icon, kind of near the bottom middle of the screen, you should see it. So take that rubber glove to be on the front arm, and then we can just type in rubber glove to get the other one. So here we go for the back arm, and of course we got Tim Borelli's back arm too. Since I couldn't really see it, I moved the back arm just now over kind of to our right so that we could see it a little bit more and line up the glove where it needs to be on the arm. So that's all good. And then I've got an oval right here. You can take it from the geometry library if you're in Scribblenauts Unlimited. If you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, you're gonna need to type in any of those geometric shapes. I typed in a sash next, and that's basically gonna act as the part of his cape that's in the front. You know, you can see where his cape kind of goes around his neck and stuff like that there in the front. And on the oval, we can actually include a dagger tooth, the end, tail, fin parts and stuff. It kind of is gonna look like the middle of his bat symbol. And then we've got imp wings, and of course you want the female imp wings. It often starts on that by default, but just make sure, you know, if you're like, hey, I typed in imp wings and it doesn't look a thing like that, well, that's probably because it's on the male imp wings. And we've got a 29-page library arm shape from the 20th page, bottom middle. You can use almost any of those arm shapes as long as they have a little curve to them. We're basically putting them above the imp wings and kind of next to that head of the bat symbol right here on his chest, because we need those wings to be a little bit girthier, bigger all around, and cover more area. A whalefish is what we're going to type in next, and you want to, if you're having a hard time grabbing its top fin, which is what we're going to use, basically try to put your cursor or your stylus, if you're on Wii U, try to basically put it on the point, the end of that fin, and that often can grab it. It's kind of that specific hitbox that it can be grabbed from. And so we've got 3 of those, and then we're going to going to type in hair. Hair is a good kind of one stamp that can do these 3 points as well on the back arm, and it doesn't need to look as detailed as we can see clearly on the front arm. A new stamp for this series, I'm pretty sure, I don't think I've used this in any of my episodes, is a cardboard. So if you type in cardboard, that can basically look like his little satchels and bags and stuff that he's got on his belt here. The belt itself, we made the letter I, so just type in I. A hanky. You know, I don't know if I've used that either in this series. It's a stamp I've known about for a long time, just in my own use of the object editor, but here we can use it. I gave it a pretty crazy color pattern there, or texture pattern, but then we just painted it yellow as well. And then another 2 cardboards to the side of that, kind of to our left of the belt. It would be Batman's right, though. And it looks like we've got basically everything that I want, except for we can add one little detail here. We can make the tail a little bit more pointy because we have one more stamp to use, and that's it. There is a stamp limit in this game. Hopefully you noticed the little error pop up on screen that said, hey, you ran out of stamp space, dude. Well, with that, that's why we're actually creating the head and the body separately. So you can use any pointy geometric shape to get that bat symbol's tail to be a little bit more pointy. But right now we're in the properties editor, and this is where you can edit health of your object and some behind the scenes scripting and stuff like that. And so I like to read background information and fun facts about whatever we're creating here in this series at this point. And so we'll go ahead and talk about Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which is a 2-part direct-to-video animated film adapted from the 1986 comic book called The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. I think it would be great to call upon J.E. Sentry, who was kind enough to give to my Patreon final reward tier for yet another month here to help with some of these fun facts real quick. So just to quote him in his message to me when he requested this, he said, quote, "I think it would be pretty cool to make Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. He's around 55 years old and has come out of retirement to fight crime once again. He wears 2 suits, a blue suit in the beginning and a gray suit near the end." And that's the end of the quote. And you know, that's exactly it. We'll be creating both versions of the suits that he's wearing because really the second grayish black one will only take minor edits to our first creation here. And I can just kind of end off everything by saying that this little direct-to-video film received a decent amount of praise, and I think it was worthy of it. Rotten Tomatoes gave Part 1 a score of 100% and Part 2 a score of 94%. Part 1 actually also received a Golden Reel Awards nomination for Best Sound Editing in a Direct-to-Video Animation. But alright, here we go. Many thanks to J.E. Sentry once again, as we're now starting off with the head as the source object. I put down a golden egg over that, painted it the blue to be the mask and everything, and then we can take the thigh piece of a monster. We did the mouthpiece of our previous Batman creations in this series with a Triceratops upper leg piece, so this time I'm kind of departing from that using the monster. We took the goldfish bottom fin, made that for his eyes right here, so twice of course. A cone, you're going to need to type that in if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, but in Scribblenauts Unlimited, the geometry library, you can just grab it from there. We got a dunce cap coming up next. I'm going to shrink that pretty small, maybe just 1 notch above the smallest setting, and so those can be for the ears, basically the bat ears of the mask. And here we've got a cannoli. I've used this technique maybe a few times, only like once or twice actually, probably. There's been so many episodes in this series. We've been doing this for almost like 5 years now. Crazy to think. But yeah, the technique is basically just paint the cannoli completely the whitest it can get. So it'll kind of get rid of all of those details of the stamp itself and just look like a white shape of that cannoli, the outline of the cannoli. And so then I've got jellyfish upper tentacle pieces. You know, it looks just sort of like a straight black line, a very small one. So kind of right next to the jellyfish's body, you can grab one of those tentacle pieces or parts. We basically did 4 of them on both sides of where the skin is right here on the mask to be some wrinkles. Now this is important because one of those lines is covering up a little dot. Sometimes in Scribblenauts Unlimited, you notice that the joints of characters where they attach to the body, so for instance, if it's an arm, where the arm attaches to the torso of the character, there's a little black dot, almost like a brad, but a little black dot joint connector piece, and that was on the monster's back thigh piece that we used. And so to kind of get rid of that and mask that, we can put that jellyfish upper tentacle piece to basically cover it up. It is sticking out a little bit, I think, so you can adjust your sizing as needed. We've got a 29-page library. On the 22nd page, there's an arm piece, kind of close to the bottom middle. I painted that gray. It's a little divot in his lips, basically, right there. Some shading. And those jellyfish upper tentacle pieces were also added to the mouth. There's 2 of them to basically show that there's teeth in there. And also above the eyes, we did 2 of them, basically for his brow to be kind of scrunched up. An intense look. Here in the properties editor, you want to go to the equipment tab on the head object and make sure that you fill in this circle that says can be worn on the face like glasses, and that's mostly going to put the head where we want it to go. We are going to need his cape though, so we also created his cape as a separate thing, and you can just start off with a dot or really almost any stamp as the source object for this, because we're going to script it to be worn on the back like a backpack. Now with that, it needs to be sideways, so you can tell that his cape right now is horizontally facing like this. I just typed in cape, put that over the dot, and then Irish moss to be the little fringe pointy parts of the cape at the bottom. And so of course under the equipment tab for this, you want to fill in the last circle down on that bottom half of the screen. Can be worn on the back like a backpack. That looks good. So let's put all the pieces together. Here's what it basically looks like with the head scripted with the body. You know, it's not exactly in the position that I want it to be in. You can see it's kind of low, and it looks like his head is just like he almost like has no neck, or, well, I mean, I guess a lot of Scribblenauts characters don't have necks either, but it's not proportionally where we want it to be, and that's to be expected. You very rarely get it right on the very first time, so you want to then edit the body object, and here you can turn on these green grids on your left side panel of buttons that you can use after clicking this arrow in the bottom middle of the screen. There's basically the icon in the top right that turns on these green grids. It shows all the moving parts of your creation and stuff and where you can place stamps on. Well, just take the head grid, obviously it's the square that's blank where the head is supposed to go, and move that where it needs to be for your head object, you know, once you give the little head creation to your body creation. So in this case, we needed to move the head grid up and maybe forward a little bit, and so here now I can show you guys what it all looks like coming together. So we put the cape on. It doesn't really matter which order you do it, so I just put the cape on first, but then I put the head here, and that looks good. I want it to be kind of in the midst of that sash where the cape is. So you can notice here with the blackish gray Batman or whatever costume, the other one, we did get rid of that oval that is on the Bat logo in essence, and you know, we changed the Bat logo up to kind of match what it looks like on that suit, and that's really the main change, although we did make some changes to the belt, just did cardboard all the way instead of that hanky, and so that's looking good. I made the cape a little bit longer as well on that one, and so otherwise the creations can be very similar because the character itself looked very similar wearing both costumes, just those minor changes. So here, let's put them to the test. Of course, you guys definitely like to see them animated in some way, and so we'll have a hostile mutant right here, and of course that's not gonna look like the mutants on the Batman Dark Knight Returns animated film, but it's a Scribblenauts mutant, kind of a nice homage to that, and so our Batman should have no problem here, I would say, because these Scribblenauts characters that are default in the game usually don't have as much health as I give my creations. I want my creations to be powerful and all that and be somewhat realistic or whatever, and so let's actually, now that that blue Batman has fought and made mincemeat of that mutant, let's actually take a previous creation, which is my War Machine creation here. Of course, that was when we did the Avengers, or I guess it was Captain America Civil War characters, basically, and we created a lot of the Avengers team there in that one. So we've got our War Machine here to fight our Batman. I think this should be a very close match because I'm sure that they're scripted, you know, pretty similarly, but here's one challenge is like, you know, whenever I'm creating characters from many episodes ago, which this was basically, of course, last summer or whatever, that I created War Machine, the scripting is going to be different because, you know, I don't keep in mind, hey, I'm going to create Batman 9 months from now or whatever time distance it was. Basically, I'm implying that since they're created so far apart, the scripting is going to be different, and the health and all that, the properties. So ultimately, it actually is a very close matchup, and Batman, I think, is going to be victorious here. It was super close, though. It was down to like the last heart, it looks like, because, yep, Batman's going to do it. That was so crazy. And then he's doing push-ups. Victory taunt or whatever, but so good stuff, dramatic battle, but I want you guys to know that, of course, this Patreon creation, you know, I'm uploading this on Tuesday here, the end of February. I obviously normally just upload episodes only on Sundays, but this time you get 2 in 1 week. So the Patreon creations, you know, it's like whenever somebody donates to the Patreon reward tier and gets their object automatically created, it doesn't get in the way of the normal episodes every Sunday, so it's a benefit for the community as well, as you guys get to see more episodes, more content. It helps us all. So many thanks again to J.E. Sentry, who I think this is his 4th time around donating, and again, that's just above and beyond the Call of Duty. One kind of last reminder or announcement, I do want to say, of course, I will have the Nintendo Switch, presuming nothing goes wrong with my pre-order and all that. I do plan on having it basically as close to midnight, I guess the stroke of midnight after Thursday into Friday morning, that midnight here coming up this Friday, and I'm gonna do some streams, some videos, and all of that good stuff. So certainly come back to the channel around then. I'm gonna stream basically as soon as I get home with my Switch. So it may be more like 1 or 2 a.m. or something by the time it gets streaming. That's in Central Time. So Eastern, of course, that would be 2 or 3 a.m. And then you can convert it to your time zone after that. So I know that many of you will probably be asleep, but I should be streaming during the normal hours as well that Friday, you know, throughout the day. It'll be basically a lot of content, a lot of videos about the Switch, as best as I can do. You guys know my life is crazy and busy, but all right, I will catch you guys on the next vid. You're all amazing, so thanks for viewing.
You can be the viewer and
down the road of twist.